This is such a whole new world, isn't it? I, this
And
is
now
just,
I'm going to make Peggy the co-host.
Okay. Great.
you're doing a great job, Tata.
All right. Thanks. Okay, and I'm gonna withdraw my co-host permission from Colleen. So it's just me and Peggy now. Okay. Oh no, somebody else. Okay. That's okay. I'll mute myself. I'm going to mute.
Well, we could all just pretend that we're having all the nice coffee and cookies that you
Yeah,
usually.
I know. Remember last year. Tata, should I just go ahead and start introducing her and start the meeting? Okay. Well, everybody, sorry about all these glitches. We've done meetings since June and they worked out pretty well. Today was a little bit difficult, but I am so excited. I can see Peggy's beautiful face. Many of you joined us last Christmas for such a special presentation. It was our gift to all of you. We had Dr. Peggi Tabor, PhD, and she did the science of happiness. And I'm not kidding, Peggy. I've been so happy this whole year, despite everything. I've used your advice and it's been awesome. And so she was so great, we asked her if she would come back. She was going to speak at our May meeting, and with COVID, we had to cancel April and May, we couldn't meet. And then I asked if she would come back for another wonderful presentation. She said this is her favorite presentation about her experiences as a Peace Corps member in Lesotho in South Africa. And she has so much to teach us. I hope that Tata made you the co-host. Do you have a PowerPoint, Peggy?
I do.
Okay. Tata is going to have to probably make you the co-host.
Oh, I can do it.
Oh, you can do it.
Oh, I think she already did make me co-host.
Oh, she did.
So I share my PowerPoint.
So you're going to share the PowerPoint now? Okay.
Oh, okay. Should I start?
You can start and you can add to that introduction. I'm so excited to hear you, and I know we're all going to learn a lot to take with us into the
I'm really
new year.
sorry about that.
Thank you,
I gotta
Peggy.
learn about this.
Okay, thank you, Colleen.
Shouldn't have
I
tried
am
something
delighted to
new.
be back here. I was so happy to speak to you all last year. And I thought, oh, what a wonderful group to talk about what the Peace Corps is doing in around the world and in Africa. So let me just share my screen here. I'm always delighted when this
Wow.
part works. Okay, whoops.
You know,
And there we are. Are you all seeing my screen? All right. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about today, and let me start by telling you that right now, because of COVID, there are no.
I'll just have to send you the recording.
Tata,
I'm
you
pretty
need to
sure I
put
can get
yourself
this
on
up on YouTube because
Hey,
it's
Tata.
not, it says since I'm the host, well, if I stop being the host, no, I have to be
But
the
no,
host.
put yourself on mute.
Tata,
No choice. If
Tata,
you would have called a little earlier, we could have done
Okay.
it, but
Tata,
she's already
mute yourself,
talking,
please.
so,
Tata,
oh,
Yourself on mute.
Peggy's talking. Please mute yourself.
There you go. Got it. Got it. Okay, we're good. This mute button just solves a multitude of issues. At any rate, right now, there are no Peace Corps volunteers anywhere in the world. They were all brought home in March. There were 7,334 US citizens serving in 62 countries around the world, outreaching in the name of peace to people of all different countries. So they're all home now, but the minute that the world opens up, we'll be back in business. The Peace Corps will be back in business. Today, I'm going to talk about the Peace Corps. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the country I was in, Lesotho, which is in sub-Saharan Africa. I'll talk about the culture there, and then about really what the Peace Corps is doing as positive interventions for the major problems that are happening throughout Africa particularly, and that's poverty and the HIV/AIDS pandemic. They are very used to pandemics in Africa. So let me start just by talking a little bit about the Peace Corps. Here's the great thing. The Peace Corps was started in March of 1961, and then Senator John F. Kennedy came right to the University of Michigan, and he was real late. He was on a big, long campaign day, and it was 2 in the morning, and he thought, well, nobody's going to be there. But he went to the Union Building, and 10,000 U of M students were waiting to hear Senator Kennedy talk about what he was going to talk about. And he thought, he asked them, he said, other countries have organizations similar to the US Peace Corps. And he asked those students if they would be willing to take what they're learning and go to third world countries and share that learning with, with the people in those countries. And there was a row. Everybody was yelling, yeah, we'll do that. And so the minute he got elected president, he set up a commission of the United States Peace Corps. He started it as a government agency. Since that time, over 240,000 people have served in 142 countries, bringing information like IT technologies, teachers, medical help, business development. I went over there to help this very impoverished country start some little small businesses, beekeeping, farming, everything you can think of. Every skill that we have in this country, we have exported it to other countries. Now, here's how it works. A country has to ask for Peace Corps volunteers. So they fill out paperwork and they say, this is the kind of help we need. And then a whole lot of people apply for the Peace Corps every year. 14,000 people apply for the Peace Corps every year to fill 3,000 positions. So it's a big funnel. And you get down and finally go to the country with 3 directives. The first is to take what we know as citizens, what we've learned that will be helpful to help these people in areas in which they have requested help. Secondly, we are to represent our country, to represent the ideals of the United States of America in this country. And thirdly, we're supposed to learn their culture and come home and share what we learned about their cultures with our fellow Americans. So tonight's talk, I'm really fulfilling the third part of my commitment to the Peace Corps. So I served there from 2004 to 2006. I was an economic development advisor, helped them help them with some small businesses. And I'll tell you more about that later. Here's the group I went over with. And our ages were 23 to 74. Let me see if I can see this lady. She was 74 years old when she went over there. This was about her 4th time in Africa. She was an endocrinologist, and she did a whole lot of work getting funding for TB research and help with TB. TB is an opportunistic disease that really strikes people who have the immune deficiency that results from HIV infection. So when your body is infected with an HIV virus, your immune system goes down. And since TB is a very, very highly contagious disease, a lot of people die. They're dying really of HIV, but it's TB. So she did wonderful work, got a whole bunch of grants going, and did some work there. This lady became one of my great friends. She and I, there were 7 of us that were over 55. And this is Lois Williams, unbelievably great attorney. She has argued, she was a partner in a Washington, D.C. law firm, argued twice in front of the Supreme Court, won one, lost one. She had serious credentials. Everybody did. This young man came from a farm in Vermont, and he taught people how to do really good farming, how to use really current techniques in getting the best yields. So the variety of skills in this group was wonderful, and everybody had the opportunity to do a lot of good. We were in Lesotho. Okay, Africa is huge. Africa is a huge continent. There's 59 countries in Africa. There's between 1,500 and 2,000 languages spoken in Africa, and 3/4 of all of the AIDS cases in the world are in Africa. 43% of Peace Corps volunteers serve there. Okay, I don't know if you can even see it on your screen, but do you see this tiny little circle down there that says Lesotho? That's the country that I served in, Lesotho, about the size of Vermont, or yeah, New Hampshire, about the size of New Hampshire. Okay, so see this little country? Now I'm going to show you how big Africa really is. Look at this. These are what could fit into Africa. Here's the United States, India, Argentina, Western Europe, China. All of these countries could fit into the continent of Africa with room to spare. The country that I served in was called the Mountain Kingdom. It was very high, very mountainous, right at the very tip, completely surrounded by the country of South Africa. And as you can see, it's all mountains. I lived right up here in these mountains up here. It's there's about 2 million people in the country. It's extremely poor. It's considered by Jeffrey Sachs, who wrote The End of Poverty. There's different types of poverty, and the people in Lesotho are extremely poor, meaning that they primarily live on subsistence farming. If they don't grow it, they don't get to eat it. The HIV rate in Lesotho is the second highest in the world. They have about 25% infection rate amongst the population. Their lifespan is about 52 years old. That's compared with Western countries where our lifespan is about 80. And if you put in all the third world countries, including India and Africa, the lifespan is 71. So having a lifespan of 52 people are just dying all the time in this country. But it is beautiful. It rains a lot there. It's called the kingdom in the sky. I mean, rainbows all the time, because the clouds come in from the Indian Ocean and they get, stuck on the mountains there, the Drakensberg Mountains. And so Lesotho has plenty of water, but that's about all it has. This is the Semonkong Falls. These are the second largest falls in Africa, and they're about 2,000 feet high. It's just beautiful. There's water everywhere. It's not very clean water, but it's everywhere. There are very few, there's really only one major road in Africa. So the main mode of transportation in Lesotho, the main mode of transportation in this country is by horseback. They have the Lesotho ponies, which were brought in by Europeans in the late 1800s. And these are sure-footed ponies, and it is the way to get around. So riding on horseback was really not too many Basotho have horses, but my fellow Peace Corps people and I rode horses all the time, and I had a horse. I've been an equestrian for all of my life. So one of the things as an economic development advisor we thought we would do, since there's so much historical stuff and there's cave paintings that are unexplored, that are thousands of years old, the Ministry of, I worked for the Ministry of Tourism, Environment and Culture. And we thought, let's figure out how to make horse trails for people who would come visit the country as a tourist attraction. We would go from one beautiful village to the other. So this guy was from the ministry, and we got a couple horses from a farmer, and he said, okay, we'll go from this village to the other. Now look at this, look at this. This is a drop off of about 2,000 feet. This is my head of my horse, and that's what I'm looking down at. Look at that. I said, hey, this looks kind of dangerous. I think this would be too dangerous for tourists. And he said, oh yes, they would die. I said, hey, what about me? he said, oh no, you're Peace Corps. We don't worry about you guys. So that did not happen. That project did not come to fruition. This is where I live. The village I lived in is on the other side of this mountain here. This is such old part of the earth. The oldest rocks, 3.6 billion year old rocks, were found in Swaziland, which is just next to Lesotho. I went around with some dinosaur for paleontologists, and they found dinosaur bones all around our village. It's just, there's dinosaur footprints everywhere. This is a very old part of the world. So that's where I lived in. And I lived in a hut. I lived in a rondaval. This is my rondaval, and that's my horse, Lance. He was like my Volkswagen. He just was parked outside my hut all the time, and I couldn't have gotten around the way I needed to get around without Lance. And by the way, you see, I'm wearing a skirt because women in this country, it's very it's importune to show your legs. You can go bare-breasted, no problem, but don't show your legs. It's just not done. So I have pants on under here, and even when I rode my horse, I always wore a skirt. I lived with a family in a village called Menkwaneng. The huts of these two huts were below where I was, and I'll show you what the village looks like. This actually is our village over here, but this is what a village looks like. You can see the traditional rondavals, which are made out of stone. The people just cut chunks out of stone and glue them together with, cow dung and water and like sand. It makes a real hard surface. And then the roofs are all thatched with just thatch that grows around. You'll see a couple of these buildings have tin roofs, and those would be like the chief, and everybody thought that was so cool. It was like cement blocks and a tin roof, and they were horrible. They didn't have the insulation that a rondaval had. When it rained and hailed, and it did that all the time, it was deafening inside of those. So I really was very happy that I got to live in a rondaval. This is the family I lived with. They're all wearing what's known as the Basotho blanket, and these were introduced by the French missionaries in the late 1800s. That's when the missionaries came to Lesotho, and there was a wonderful king there called Moshweshwe Wapele, who's considered a holy figure. He's revered, and he welcomed in the missionaries because he wanted, these were English missionaries, and he really wanted to have the protection of England, because the Voortrekkers in South Africa were impinging upon his land. So he thought Queen Victoria would be able to protect him. She did not, but but they brought blankets, and these people were just wearing, animal skins, and that's all, just around the waist. And so they now all wear these blankets. These blankets, believe it or not, even though there's plenty of wool in Lesotho, these blankets are all made in England and shipped to Lesotho. Now, I want you to see this little baby here. This is her name before she had the baby was Madaneo. When you have a baby in this country, you become Ma, whatever the baby's name is. So she became Mema Moketsi, and her baby arrived my very first night on the job. I had just been taken to this village, and I was scared to death, to tell you the truth. I was in a hut that used to be a storage hut for like corn and stuff. And so it was full of spiders. And I didn't have my little cot yet. I just had a sleeping bag and my flashlight, and I was on the floor in the sleeping bag, and I'd flash my flashlight and I'd see spiders and things running across the walls. It was bad. I thought, this is a big mistake. I have made a big mistake here. But so about 2 o'clock in the morning, a knock on the door, and it's Mema Chika, who was the mother of our family. She was the matriarch. And she says, oh, please to help me, baby, it comes. I said, what? She said, baby is coming. So I grabbed my little Peace Corps kit and some paper towels and some rubber gloves and went next door. And here is Marineo on the floor. There's, nothing. And she's going to have this baby. So I also grabbed this book that my sister gave me before I left, and it was called Worst Case Scenarios. It's like if you get in some terrible thing, and there were 2 pages on how to deliver a baby. You don't hold them up by the legs and slap them, by the way. I learned that night. So we delivered the baby. Here's how it worked. Mema Chica was at the feet end of Marineo with her legs open. Marineo put her feet on her mother's thighs. I was sitting behind her, kind of holding up her head and saying nice, calming things to her. We got a lot of language training before we could go to the villages. And honest to goodness, it went just fine. The little baby came out, and I knew about placenta, and I knew I had to cut the cord, but frankly, I didn't really know what side you cut it in. So I tied it off with Peace Corps dental floss and 2 places and cut in between. And the baby's head was very long and narrow. And I said, oh, because it had been in the birth canal. And Mema Chica said, oh, I know just what to do. And she ran outside and she brought in a gourd that was the perfect shape of a baby's head, and just rub it around the head. And she said, oh, this baby will be just fine very soon. And of course the head expands out. So she was exactly right. So that is little Moketsi, and Marineo is now Mema Moketsi. And here they are. And this is little Moketsi showing us what a big boy he is. When they're infants, they do wear little diapers. But once they can walk around, they just go around bottomless until they're potty trained. And then we just run around cleaning up after him. It's just a wonderful life. And see these strings around his waist. This is how they tell if the baby is doing okay, if he's gaining weight, because they want to keep adding strings. And if, for a couple of weeks, the baby was losing, they had to tighten up that little belt that made out of beads, they would know that the baby's losing weight, and that's not good. So that's how it's done. The work in this land is done, the farming is done primarily by women. And as I mentioned, it's subsistence farming. So this is corn. And if you don't grow it, you don't eat it. And starvation is a huge problem here. Hunger is constant in this village. So I worked with them in the fields, but after, seeing how bad I was at hoeing, they gave me the job of, there are weeds that grow in between the corn that are edible weeds. So my job was to pull weeds and make big bags, and then all of us would share them. And that was a green that you could eat. That was morojo. And anything green that you can cook and boil and eat is morojo. So it's a delicious green, as a matter of fact. So that's it. The corn is this is my family that I lived with, and this is harvesting. Now the corn is all grown and it's dried on the stalks and it's all packed. And then we all sit with a sharp stone, and see, this is a pile of corn kernels. And then this is what I would call, being in marketing, a productivity bonus. These are great for starting fires. So everybody shared the corn equally. I always sat in for somebody who was sick, and there was always somebody sick. So they would get their equal share of corn, and then I would get to take them all these cool corn cobs so that they could start their fires. And it really is a very sharing type of community. It's people care for each other, they take care of each other, and everybody works. So this is what this morojo, that corn, is ground into like a flour, sort of a gruel, and then it's just cooked with water, and this is called papa, and it's just corn cooked with water. She's outside. This, by the way, is cow dung. And the fires are being made out of cow dung, which is a shame because we kept telling everybody to put as much cow dung back into the soil as possible for fertilizer. But this is it. And if you have a meal of morojo or papa, which is this corn stuff, and morojo, which is this, anything green, this is just chopped up greens. You pick up the papa, like almost like a polenta, and you just dip it in the green and you eat it. And that's it. I mean, that's it, except for special occasions. Cornmeal and some green, if you have a meal of that a day, you're doing very well in that country, in this country. This is Mema Chica, the mother of the, and everybody there, every woman in there has beautiful neck because they carry water, they carry everything on their heads, and they can go up and down steps, up and down mountains, balancing these huge things on their head. Little 2-year-old girls are walking around with little pails, learning how to do it. They just know how to do it. Chica, and this is a fine young boy. She is Mema Chica, mother of Chica. So he would never think to offer to carry that. The division of labor in the community is very strict. Women do certain things, men do certain things, and there's very little crossing over. These women are making something called jwala out of sorghum. They've all gotten together. They all have grown some sorghum. They put it together, and it takes 5 days to make this, and it makes a beer, a rather highly alcoholic beer. And it's a problem in this country since the unemployment rate's about 45%. This jwala, so this will cook for 5 days, and then what they'll do is they'll put a little flag on their house, and that means people can come by and buy a pail. They sell it by the pail, this jwala, for very little, for a few cents, but at least it's something. In this subsistence economy, they don't have any access to money. I mean, it's just barter. And so anytime they can make something that actually would get them a few coins, that's really good. So these are entrepreneurs making basically hooch. It tastes terrible. It has the consistency of cream of wheat. It's sour. I mean, it's seriously an acquired taste. I only tasted it twice, and it did not grow on me. These are traditional women. Being fat in this country is considered a very good thing. But it's not a healthy fat because they're just eating a very high carbohydrate diet. They're eating corn, basically cornmeal. But a woman with a husband with a skinny wife is looked down upon by the other guys. If you don't have enough money to feed your wife so that she's fat, you're not doing your job as a husband. Okay, so when I went there, I was more or less slender, but all I did was eat and feed people. I mean, all I did was cook food and feed people. And also in this culture, if you're not eating it, they don't eat it. You have to eat with their. I gained 42 pounds in Lesotho, and they loved it. I'd walk along paths, and farmers would point at me and go, Mentabi saying, you are getting fatter and fatter. And here's a polite exchange. Couple of women walking towards each other. I would say, Colleen's walking towards. I say, she would say, my name was Ntabi Singh. She'd say, Ntabi Singh, you are looking very fat today. And I would say, thank you, May Colleen. Yes, I am fat, but I am not as fat as you. You're the fattest one. And that's complimentary. Isn't that wonderful? The other thing that's great is being old. Because if you've survived to the point, and white hair was my ticket. So I gave lots of talks. I sat on 7 elders councils. I was constantly given little talks here and there. And inevitably, when people introduced me, and it was always some guy would introduce me, and they will say, "Oh yes, Mentabi Sane is from America." And when she came to our village, she was so thin. It was very sad. But now, look how fat she is. And she is very, very old. She is so old. So that was the introduction I would get when I give talks. It was, oh, this is a woman doing a dance where we're in a hut at the end of a funeral ceremony. This woman is the woman we're celebrating here, has been through the type of the length of mourning for her son who passed, or her husband who passed away. And so this is a big fun dance, and they do this beautiful dance. Underneath there are like bells, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's just amazing. These young boys are herd boys. Everybody's herd boys. The girls in this country have a better education than the boys, simply because the boys are in charge of the animals. The girls help their mother in the garden and help around the house and everything, but the boys go out at such a young age with animals. Before dawn, they go out into the mountains, and the councils of every village, they say where the animals can graze. Like after the corn has been harvested out of a field, then the cows can go in there and eat the stalks, but it's very strict. And sometimes during the growing season, these boys have to go up into the mountains and find grazing places. So look at this little boy. He's probably 8 to 10 years old. He and another boy, they're taking all these cows and donkeys. He's got a sack of cornmeal, and he will make papa and stay in the mountains for days on end and take care of the cows. It's what they do until they get to be between 14 and 18. Then they go to circumcision school. This is where the boys become men. They go for 3 months in the summer. It's a long time. They go with the sangomas, the traditional healers, the village elders, and they learn all the chants, and they learn all the things they need to know to be a man in this society. In fact, if you don't go to circumcision school, you can't hold any office in any of the remote villages in Lesotho. Now, here's the bad deal about this. On the 3rd day, they are circumcised at age 14 to 18. And it used to be they use the same knife for everybody. And a sangoma circumcises them, no anesthetic. So it's kind of, rite of passage. But one of the things we did as Peace Corps volunteers was we were taught, do not try and change the culture. You're not here to change anybody's culture. You're here to make the culture more safe for them. So before circumcision school, I would meet with the sangomas, all of whom were my good friends. I really had these healers became my most helpful people in my job. And I would give them all razor blades, lots of razor blades, and say, 1 boy, 1 blade. And then you could give the boy the blade, which is such a valuable thing, a razor blade in that culture, so handy, as a gift for the circumcision. So that's how we would intervene in this, because, HIV passes most easily with blood. You cut someone, and then you cut someone else, and there's infected blood, and it just goes right down the line. That's why there's 25% infection rate. Look at these guys. They are so proud of themselves. They have spent 3 months really learning all the songs, all the dances, all the history, all the culture, and they are now men. When they leave boys, and when they come, you can hear everyone in the villages, because the villages are close and the sound travels beautifully in those mountains. And they would ululate, like all the women would be going, 1,000 people doing that. And that's what you would hear welcoming the boys back to the village. And there'd be a big feast. And then they have an attitude. This guy's had some jwala. This is a party. And this is sort of the attitude of the guys there. They're wonderful men. They really are. But they are very proud to be Basutu men. This guy, this is Ntate Lefa. He's a Sangoma, and he was like my right-hand lieutenant. He did so much about helping me train everybody on HIV, AIDS stuff. But these guys, this is a party, an end of mourning party, which is a big party. And so everybody's drinking jwala, and they're showing me some of the traditional dances. This guy is a Sangoma. He is a holy man, and they use chants and rituals, and unfortunately, some very bad practices, like for medicine, they don't have needles and injections and things like that. So they have a lot of botanical knowledge about what's good for different illnesses. And what they do is they make an incision in the person and they rub the medicine right into their blood. But they usually do, most of their healing is faith healing. It's chanting and dancing. This is another Sangoma, and this is one of his wives. Polygamy is legal in this country, and this is traditional dress. This is the way before the missionaries, everybody dressed like this. And you can see she's got lots of scars on her from all of the, medicine and stuff. It's a blood passing society. And this guy turned out to be really good for my work there, because he was a very traditional guy, but he said, what is this sickness that is killing everyone here? And I said, it's AIDS. And he said, I need to learn how to protect my people from AIDS. So that was one of my big jobs, was AIDS education, to show them things that they really had to do differently, mostly sex things that they were just doing themselves. These are all wonderful Sangomas. The problem with the Sangomas is I had 17 of them that were very close, that I was very close with, that we had meetings, that we did a lot of training in the villages on HIV AIDS. I had them all sent into the capital city for extensive training on what it really is, and how to protect your people from it. But every single one of these guys was HIV positive, every one, because when they do these blood ceremonies, they're involved in it. For instance, one of the blood ceremonies is in the spring. A father will invite a holy man, a Sangoma, to the house to bless them for the spring. And it's like becoming Indian brother. So the Sangoma will cut his finger, then he'll cut the father's finger, then they'll cut the mother's finger, and they become all blood, all one blood. Well, if any of that blood is tainted, that, what happens. So every single Sangoma here was HIV positive, but by the time I left, they were all on antiretroviral drugs. I went back a couple years later. This man had passed away, but my good friend Lefa, this guy was still alive, and most of them were still alive. The real story in Africa here is poverty. This is one of the ladies. These are my corn cobs I took to her, and she's cold. It's cold there. It's, Lesotho is much closer to Antarctica than it is to the what's the middle of the world called? The warm areas. The equator, thank you very much. She's cold and she's hungry, and that's just life as it is there. They are extremely poor. And when they have a crop failure, the disaster is unspeakable. The children are delightful. All of these children are wearing clothes that they come in container ships from America and other countries. When you clothes to but Salvation Army, some charities, they ship them to Africa, and then they'll come to the chief's house, like World Vision and Salvation Army will bring lots of clothes to the chief's house, and then the people in the village can come and wear clothes. So everybody is wearing Western clothes, but I will tell you, not one of them purchased one of these. They're all one. It's nice to know, isn't it, that some of our t-shirts, and I'd see, the t-shirts of various sporting games, for sporting events, the New York Rogers or Yankees or whatever, and they're darling, darling children. However, the mortality rate in children is very high in this country. They just don't have a chance. The medical system has collapsed. It had collapsed under the pandemic of HIV, AIDS, and now, well, I'll tell you about AIDS. I'll tell you about COVID here. So the reality is that it used to be the social security system in this was the family. The grandmother would stay home with the grandchildren, and the adults would be out working in the fields and taking care of the animals. Well, now this woman, who I just love this woman, she had 11 grandchildren living with her. All of her sons had died. All of her daughters-in-law and daughters had died. And she was the only one. So there, I mean, what is she going to do? She's in that rendezvous with 11 kids. So and this little girl didn't even have a grandmother. She was living alone in a hut with these children and taking care of them. And that's it. I mean, the village tries to help as much as possible, but it's a serious, these kids, one of my projects there was, of course, getting food, and I had tons of food. I got food. And so like these guys, these two had lost their dad and their mom was real sick. So they came to my house like once a week, and I could give them, this is cornmeal and oil, and this is a can of fish. So at least it kept them from starvation. And they're so happy. They have no idea how poor they are. They have no idea. They're just like our kids. They love to get their picture taken. They love to play. They're just happy, beautiful, smart kids that have had a hand dealt to them that is unfair. And that's why I think, you know, our responsibility as a first world country is to really open our hearts and open our wallets to help these people out, because they're just like us. They're just like us. The kids are just, those kids are just like our grandchildren. They're just beautiful children. So there, but funerals are what really goes on all the time. And you'll see all the men are over on this side, the women are on this side. There wasn't a single week went by that I didn't go to at least one funeral. And it used to be they had all kinds of celebrations, but there's so much death that there's really not time for anything else. So this is the funeral of someone that was a member of my family. She was a Kalihang. My name, by the way, was in Tabisang, Kalihang. It's a click language. It's like, you know, it's a Bantu language. So there's 5 syllables that are said with a click, and it's not just one click. It's like, it's 5 different clicks, and they can do it. I can hardly do one click, but. So this is a funeral. It happened every week. The entire village takes part in it. They're carrying the casket here. This is the entire village following, and see how desolate this is. It's just, there's nothing growing there because all of the soil has washed away. At any rate, they bury them in a remote area, and the entire village is following. Everybody is singing. Everybody participates in every funeral. And then the best way to be buried is in an animal skin. That's the most traditional. So they killed a cow. This was my family, and my family, because the father in my family had a job as a miner in Africa, we were considered wealthy. So we actually killed a cow, and these guys take the cow and they're scraping it all off. This will be used for someone in the family who dies and they can't get a casket. The person we buried in this one that was just a real cheap casket, but this is how it's done. It's all part of the ceremony. The women in the village, then, this is a mixture of cow manure and water and clay. And this was her hut. They emptied out her hut, and then everybody works together. They're putting down a nice new floor. They're taking at a funeral. That's why you see everybody's bald. It's because family members shave their heads at the funeral of a relative. And I was a relative, so later on you saw a little tuft of white hair in there. They cut a hunk off back of my hair. Then these are the women taking everything she owns, every blanket, every sheet, every down to do all the laundry of the lady who died. We live way up here on the other side of this mountain. This is where you do the laundry. This is some water in a donga. It's all carried down there. And this is everybody. This is like, it's like a huge walk down, and you wash it in this water and then hang it outside to dry. So that's, you know, how they do a funeral. This is one of my projects. These are orphans. There were 231 children in this elementary school that really wasn't much of a school, but at least when the kids go to school, they get one meal a day. And that's why everybody goes to school. In fact, they get one egg a week, except girls. Girls don't get eggs because it might impede their productivity later in life. Who's, you know, I didn't argue with this stuff. But so out of 234 children, 110 of them were orphans. So I started to have orphan parties every Monday, and I only wanted 30 at a time. So, and they knew, so all the orphans would come and they'd do coloring books, and I'd have apples and peanut butter sandwiches. And you would think they were going to Disneyland. We played games. It was a huge thing. And it was 30 kids at a time, or 32. And I'll tell you, if somebody, they all knew, I had no idea what all these kids' names were, but if some kid came and they knew it wasn't their week to come, I mean, they were not allowed in. They kept perfect track of who was in and who was not. And my sisters are teachers, and they sent me like coloring books. It was just wonderful. It was just a wonderful project. And I taught English as a second language. English is the second language in Lesotho. Thank heaven, because a lot of people speak some English, but I'm teaching these little kids my sister sent me this doll that was full of little stuffed animals, and there's a song that says, there was an old lady who swallowed a cow. I don't know why she swallowed the cow. And I taught them the words for all these animals. So anyway, that was really fun. I also taught English as a second language. These are some of the workers on one of our many, many projects. The role of a Peace Corps volunteer is to be an advocate for the people he or she is serving, and to set up projects that will go on. Well, we were building a cultural village, and so I wanted to teach them the types of things that they would say when people would come and village and visit the village. So they were taking a break from working hard. I mean, everybody worked so hard on these projects. We had projects going on all over the place, because here's what you do. It's so easy. I just wrote for grants to World Vision, to UN Food for Work program was great. We started a community CBO, a community-based organization with a constitution. I took the leaders of the village to the capital city. We registered ourselves as a community-based organization, a legal entity, and then I could write for grants for the UN Food for Work program, World Vision, Salvation. I wrote grants. I wrote to everybody for money, and everybody gave us money. It was easy, but these people, that's why we need the Peace Corps. I mean, they don't know how to do it. So they did after I left. When I left, there was a president, a secretary, all very good elders of these villages that knew how to carry it on. But that's how we got things done. This is my wonderful friend, Lefa. And this is another wonderful Sangoma, and we're teaching how to make medicines out of things that they can grow. So that's just another little project. This is a woman from an NGO, a non-governmental organization that just did, she did teaching on what HIV/AIDS was, how you catch it, and how to avoid it. And she came to the village and taught the villagers what they needed to know. And then they also had the testing kits there. It's just a finger prick. It's a simple little test. And if they got the test and had the little slip that they had the test, then they could come to my house for a free lunch, which really was a big draw. It was lemonade and peanut butter sandwiches, but it was it's considered pretty good. So we got everybody tested. Everybody knew how to avoid HIV/AIDS. Now I'm talking about some Peace Corps projects. This is a fabulous one. This is an orphanage. This was started 2 years before I came here by a young Peace Corps volunteer. And by the time, and by the way, this orphanage is the one that Prince Harry, when he was a teenager, visited, and he met all the Peace Corps people met him, and he was a wonderful guy. And she eventually had 180 orphans. She hired all kinds of women to take care of the orphans and feed the orphans. And it was an extremely successful project. This is a Losotho guy, but a Peace Corps volunteer started this to extend the growing season. This is a very highly mountainous area. So the growing season is pretty short, but this is just throwaway plastic that we got from the pallets of stuff coming into the capital city from all over the world. And then these are just branches. And one of the Peace Corps volunteers how to make these greenhouses to extend the growing season. Also taught them how to grow terraced like this instead of straight down, which erodes all the things. So this is a type of farming that was taught by Peace Corps volunteers. This is a wonderful project, a weaving project. They make beautiful rugs and stuff. And a Peace Corps volunteer started this. She taught all these women, this is some of their beautiful wall hangings. They start by shearing the sheep. They spin the wool. I mean, this is from scratch for weaving. And then they weave these beautiful tapestries. And I went to visit, and they always come in singing. She had 18 women who made enough money to support their entire families through this Peace Corps project. And the building they were in was super cool. This building is made out of tin cans. She got a grant from the Irish, it's the Irish Peace Corps. It's not called the Peace Corps, it's called something else, but she got a grant from them, and they built this building out of tin cans. We all started building stuff out of tin cans. This saves wood, which is a wonderful, very important thing. The tin cans over there are not as flimsy as they are here. They're sturdier, and a Peace Corps volunteer figured out how to wire them together into walls and make these very well insulated buildings. And people would go around the towns that were filthy, awful third world country towns, and pick up all the tin cans and clean up the town. It was such a win-win. I thought this was one of the most brilliant projects. This was, when I went to the village, during training, by the way, you go over there and you're 3 months training and in your face languages, because you've got to learn passive, at least, to get along basically with the language. I never got really good at it. I thought I was doing really well. I'll just tell you one thing. I was sitting with one of the elders, Setsomi Seiso. Well, he's just a great old guy, and his English was pretty good. And we're sitting and talking about some issue in the village or something. And he says, "Men Tavisane, you have been here long enough. You should at least know how to speak our language by now." I said, "Setsomi, I am speaking your language." I was speaking to him, and he says, "None of us can understand anything you say." So I guess I have a nasal twang. And their voices their voices are very soft and melodic, and it's just beautiful. My voice sounded harsh and sharp next to them, and they've never heard anyone speak with an accent of any kind anywhere. So here I thought I was doing well, and none of them, they were just nodding. They weren't understanding anything I was saying. So this was this guy, they said, "What do you need?" I went around the village in our training. They said, "Ask the villagers what they need. Get all the top people in the village together." And they say, "We cannot get our sick to the clinic. the clinic was, and there's no road to this village, by the way, there is no road to this village. But this guy could get pretty close in this old truck. And so we started on Mondays, we would fill this truck with real sick people and we would take them, you know, they drag them up the hills. That it was really something. This woman almost died, but she made it. She didn't die. And we'd take them to the clinic. And then, you know, they'd wait all day, but they'd get, well, while they were waiting all day in the clinic, the guy with the truck and I would go into the town, which was 25 kilometers away, and we would just buy as much food as I could fit into the truck and get back up to the village. These are just grandparents that are, this is that same woman that had all the little kids outside her hut, and we would just give them food. So it was, you know, they were all working. I mean, everybody was working on stuff. Here's some of the projects. This is that Somi Seisu who told me he couldn't understand anything I was saying. This is May Elena. She was wonderful. She was also a Sangoma, and they're keeping records. We're building huts. We had so many projects going on, but because we were getting paid for it through one grant or another, like the World Food Program, the United Nations World Food Program, we kept perfect records. They kept perfect records of every project, who was at work with their names every day. They signed in. And then when I went to get the food, we had all the records to show that all these people had spent all these hours working. This is one, we were building the town, the little village I lived in was called Menkwaneng, and it was the birthplace of the founder of the country, Moshoeshoe Wapele. So one of the things we were doing was we were building a village circa 1875. And this is the way Rondevals looked there. And they were all working on it. So, and look at this attitude. They're working for like 2 bags of flour. And so they're working for peanuts. And they are so happy to be doing it because they're not starving. They're just not starving. So the attitude coming to work, these women were chopping stones out of mountains and carrying them to make these roundavals. The work was backbreaking hard. And this was their attitude about coming to work. And this was payday. I'll tell you. So our village is way over here. It's behind, I don't know where you got your pictures, but it's on this mountain over here. The whole village would sit out there once a month, and the trucks couldn't come very close to our village. This is as close as they could get. And we would wait and wait for the trucks from like sunrise to see when the food was coming. And they would start singing God Bless America. And I would start crying like every time they started singing God Bless America, because I taught them all these songs in my English as second class. And they'd say, "Oh, Mantabi Sane, why do you always cry when we sing about our love for your country?" I say, "Oh my God," because I'm so happy. And I mean, this was a hard job, but this was extremely fulfilling. And so everybody would come, and, you know, the records are kept, and they get flour and they get oil, and they get enough food so that they didn't starve. I mean, nobody was eating big fancy meals, but this was it. And man, it meant a lot to them. Here they are, some of the record keeping. I mean, it was impressive. It was impressive how responsible the adults were in the organizations within these villages. Oh, this was one of my cooking classes. This was so fun. I taught cooking classes just because it was fun to do with the food that we grow, and they were very popular. And oh, this is another one. We did a chicken farm, World Vision. I got this grant from World Vision to start a chicken farm. So we made him the chairman of this project. Here's the baby chicks. We raised them, we put them in, and then the eggs that they laid, most of them went to the orphans. So we made sure, and I made sure that girls got to eat eggs. So they got eggs. And then when the chickens were at their, you know, finished, then they would be sold, or actually the workers got most of them, but that was our chicken farm. We built the school with 231 kids had no restroom. They just go out in the fields and go to the bathroom, no restrooms. So I got a grant to build circa 1895 outhouses. If they had had outhouses in that time, this is what they would look like. So there was a boys and a girls, and this was a big project. And these people, they built these. I mean, they built these. And so they got that. It was a little more sanitary for going to the bathroom. So that's it. So the reality is that children are the future of Africa. And it's really up to us to see what we can do to, take care of these children. So here's some things that you can do. Life is calling. How far will you go? You can go to www.peacecorps.gov and you can say, I'd like to help in this country or that country. And you can go to that country and they will tell you, not right now, but it will be back up and running in 6 or 7 months, let's hope. Here's some partnership programs. Do you want to give a scholarship to a kid to go to school? Do you want to pay, whatever you want to do? You can give your money to a specific project or to a specific country. I really recommend that everybody read The End of Poverty by Jeffrey Sachs. He's a Michigan guy, by the way, brilliant guy. And it talks about how we could really end poverty by, really within 15 years by just giving a certain percentage of our GDP to all of these good organizations. One of which is the Clinton Foundation. The Clinton Foundation has a very low overhead and does wonderful work. Heifer International is another one that I love. They have a pay it forward. So if you give money to Heifer International, like buy a couple of geese, those geese go to a family, but part of the deal is that those geese are going to have baby geese, and a pair of baby geese go to another family, and it's a pay it forward part of Heifer International's programs. And some of those, whatever they were, cows or geese or whatever, have gone, it's been paid forward like 900 times. So it's really I love that. And they'll send you real nice cards. Here, a life-changing gift has been made in your honor. So you make a contribution. I buy usually like dozens and dozens of chickens. And then I send my friends little chicken salt and pepper shakers and tell them I made a donation in their name. I'm not the most popular gift giver amongst my group, but the local, okay, here's another thing. Your local and state representatives. The problem with the Peace Corps is that it's underfunded. It's seriously underfunded. And I can't even tell you I can tell you what's happened during the last administration, pretty much cut off the funds. So ask for more funding. Right now, the Peace Corps annual budget is about $350 million. That may sound like a lot, but that is nothing. That is nothing. If the Peace Corps, the reason only 3,000 people out of the 14,000 that apply get in is because there's only that much money. I mean, it costs money to send a Peace Corps volunteer and support a Peace Corps volunteer in this work. So ask for more money for the Peace Corps. And the United Nations, of course, has unbelievable volunteer opportunities. And that Food for Work program, I'm telling you, it's saved so many lives. It just did. So I think that's my last slide. Oh, it is. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing, I hope. Oh, I did. Okay. Are we back? You see me now instead of the slide? Okay, so I'm happy to answer any questions you have. You could just unmute yourself and ask if you have a question.
I have a question. You can't see me because I don't have my camera on, but do the Peace Corps volunteers pay to go, or do they get paid to go?
Here's what a Peace Corps volunteer gets: a monthly stipend. And my monthly stipend was $235 a month. And out of that, I paid all of my own expenses, my own travel, my food. I paid a tutor in the village to teach me every day. And we're encouraged to spend as much of that food locally as possible. So like I had one of the girls in the village cleaned my hut every single day. And every month it was a different girl because they got 50 Rand, which was huge. I mean, it actually gave them money. So, and whenever anybody was growing something in the village, I would buy the food from them with my $235 and then cook it and feed everybody. So yeah, a $235 would be what actually in this poor country, that would be what a school teacher would make. It's amazing, isn't it? $235 a month. And you can live on it. I lived on it. I paid rent. Not much.
Did you eat the same food the villagers ate, or did you have access to other food?
I ate the same food, but also I went into town and bought other food. Like I would buy chickens, and then I would make chicken stew, and then I'd call for a meeting. I'd send the kids out, and nobody ever did not come to any of my meetings because I fed everybody all the time. So, but during training, we just ate traditional food. And okay, so, and we had a doctor, you know, teaching us how to stay healthy. And so about 3 weeks into the training, this doctor, who was wonderful, he was Zulu, wonderful guy. He said, okay, you guys, what do you think is the #1 cause of people leaving the Peace Corps? And about 10 of us raised our hand and said, diarrhea? No, it was pretty bad. It was an adjustment, learning to eat that food. No, but you know, it wasn't. The #1 reason people leave the Peace Corps is because of it's mental. You can't take it. I mean, seeing that many people die. And so our first week there, we were invited to the American ambassador's house in the capital city for a welcome thing. And he said, you know what, you may be economic advisors, you may be teachers, you may be medical advisors, but I will tell you that you're not going to make any difference here. The problems are so huge that you have to take your mind away from making a difference and try and make some difference this day for one person. And also try and make your projects last after you go. Make sure they continue after you go.
I'd like to say thank you for #1, the service that you've done. I spent 2 weeks with friends of mine whose daughter was a Peace Corps worker, and it was in Benin, West Africa. And Benin is one of the poorest countries still today. But I spent 2 weeks with her and with no running water, no electricity. And I want to tell you, when it changed my life in just 2 weeks. So I can't imagine you spending 2 years. The Peace Corps worker that I was with, she was trying to, the guinea worm was a major health problem, and she spent more than 6 months just trying to get the men to cooperate with her because she was a woman in a power position. But thank you again. I have a great deal of respect for Peace Corps workers after just 2 weeks in 1996. Thank you again.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. You know what? My little hut was pretty comfortable. I didn't have electricity or water or anything like that. But it was cozy. It was like camping out for 2 years.
Peggy, it's another Bob here. Thank you. Your enthusiasm about the whole experience is sort of contagious. It comes through very clearly. One thing that seems to not be a big problem, according to Worldometer's information, is COVID does not seem to have been too devastating there. According to the numbers I'm looking at, they're way below average in terms of cases per million and deaths per million, way, way, way below average, which is a good thing, obviously. And I'm not sure what accounts for that, but maybe you have some insight into that. So that's
Well,
it.
for one thing, yeah, I was very happy to hear that too, because when this COVID thing first came up, my thoughts always go right to Africa. I thought, oh my God, masks? There's no masks. There's no how. What are they going to do? But these areas are remote. I mean, the people in the capital city, I would worry about. Lesotho locked down immediately. They locked the borders to South Africa. They immediately responded with a lockdown, stay at home, and everybody did. Then that was in March. Then at about June, they got their they opened the borders from South Africa and they got their first 2 or 3 cases, but they're containing it. And they're really telling people, don't leave your village. Yeah. Don't go near anybody from another village. And so their pods are very big. Yeah. You know, they just really don't go anywhere. So the whole village, if they don't see anybody from the outside, they're pretty safe. Mm-hmm. But once that thing takes hold, I'm still worried, very worried about that. I just hope they can get the vaccine to them fast. Yeah. To all of us. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else?
Mary Ann McAllister. I'd like to share. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'd like to share my brother's experience. He was in the first wave of the Peace Corps in 1964. He was assigned to Peru and he took a crash course in Spanish. But when he got up in the mountains, they spoke a dialect that was not Spanish. They had no plan. It was so early on. So the fighting diarrhea and the altitude, they had to determine what it was that needed to be done and figure out how to do it with the indigenous people and with the products they needed. I mean, he learned how to make adobe bricks. They taught him. And they did a sewer system and a water supply. And I do believe it was the 2 happiest years of my brother's life. And while he was there, he met a gal from Michigan on the east side of Detroit who was working in the medical clinic. And they got married there up in the mountains. Wow. Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah.
Thanks, Mary Ann.
Happiest years of his life.
That's wonderful.
And then I met another friend of mine whose daughter was in the Peace Corps, I think in the 90s in Poland. And she came back and she was overwhelmed by culture shock. Not so much what she experienced in Poland, but when she came back, it was like a double whammy to come back.
I know, you come back and you put on that water faucet and it's like, oh my God, this is really something. It really does change your kind of level for gratitude.
That's right.
I find it very easy to be grateful for kind of small things.
Yes,
like
yes.
turning on and off lights still makes me happy.
You are a very positive and optimistic person. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Peggy, do Peace Corps volunteers get to pick where they go? And how much contact do you have with other Peace Corps volunteers? Were there others in your village or close by?
The answer is no. But you don't get to pick where you go. I was sure, I mean, I had an MBA marketing. I was sure that they would send me to a newly capitalistic, previous communistic university in Eastern Europe to teach marketing skills. I was sure they put me in a university setting. And the one place I didn't want to go was Africa because I don't like to be hot and I'm terrified of snakes. And I thought, oh my God. And so when I heard that I was going to Africa, I cried. And really, I couldn't have chosen a better experience. It just turned out to be wonderful. So, you know, you don't get to choose where you go for sure. And we would be brought into the capital city quite frequently, like once every couple of months for some kind of training. For instance, Baylor University got together with the Clinton Foundation and with the Gates Foundation about childhood HIV. When I went there was absolutely no remedy for childhood AIDS, and it was pandemic. There were 22,000 children affected. The transmission from mother to baby was 40% of the babies were born with it, and they die, you know, they just die. So Baylor University and the Clinton and Gates Foundation got together and they put a whole training program together for us. It was a couple of days. They taught us how to recognize it, what to do, how to get, the whole family would have to be involved in the antiretroviral regimen in order to save the child. But so when I went there were 22,000 kids with HIV and 0 of them on treatment. When I left, there were 750 kids on treatment. And that was just the last, year of my service there. So that may still seem a drop in the bucket, but that's 750 kids who will live, thanks to Baylor University, the Gates Foundation, and the Clinton Foundation, and the Peace Corps volunteers.
So we still have to have our business meeting.
Okay.
But thank you so much. This is wonderful. You made me feel like volunteering for the Peace Corps.
I did it after retiring. It's a great post-retirement gig. I was 60 when I went in.
Wow.
So thank you. Thank you very much. I'll leave the meeting. You can have your- Thank you. It was an absolute pleasure. Nice to
Oh my
see you
God.
again. I
It was
look forward
wonderful.
to coming back.
Yes, thank you so much.
Definitely.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, Peggy. It was great. Just great.
So, so for our business meeting, first of all, I want to thank Colleen for volunteering to be our vice president. Now that she's retired from being president, she's president emeritus and vice president and a member of the board, and probably, one of the very most active members of the board. So in a way, she hasn't retired. She's just kind of switched her position, and a lot of people have. It's taken about 10 people to take the place of her, I think.
My pleasure.
So we have to have a short vote here. I'm going to read the names of all the board members, and then I want everybody to either vote thumbs up to reinstate all the board members, or thumbs down if there's a board member you don't want to.
And could I just say, Tada,
Yeah.
anyone that doesn't vote for us has to be on the board. That'll take care of this vote.
Okay. Yeah, and we are hoping in the future to get a new board member, but we do
Rigged election.
for now. I mean, if you'd like to volunteer, we could probably fit in another one. Okay, that'd be great. Okay, so first of all, I told you about Colleen, and she's now the vice president, and I'm now have the honor of being president, even though I'm really not filling Colleen's shoes. There's a whole bunch of people doing that. And Rick Abdu is the treasurer. Linda Leader is the secretary. Rosemary Doyle is the education chair. Pat Van Vuren is the chair of the Citizens Action Committee. And Bob Podzakowski is the Public Relations Chair. And Bob Frank is the Technology Chair. George Mills is the Hospitality Chair. And Gloria Gonick is the Outreach Chair. Jan Bridgman is an advisor. And that's it. So I vote thumbs up. Okay, I don't see any thumbs down, so it's all passed, yes.
It's unanimous.
Unanimous, we're all reinstated, good. Okay, now we're going to watch Colleen. I think she has 2 gifts, right? You have 2, right, Colleen?
I do. I'm going to do it.
Okay, so I'm going to try putting the spotlight on you. I guess everybody can do that, but let's see, I'm still learning here.
Oh, I got to open this. Uh-oh. George. Let's see.
I
George is the
didn't know
one
you
that,
went to Hawaii, by the way.
yeah, right.
Are you
George.
opening the small one first?
Yes.
Very good.
Okay, that's what I should do. Okay. Priority mail. What, how many boxes are there? Is this all a fake?
It's fragile.
Oh, it's fragile. Oh my God. I need George to help me. He always opens all my presents. Okay. Wow. Oh, it's crystal. Something crystal. Where's George? Okay, George. Can you open this? Oh my gosh. Holy smokes. It's fragile, honey.
Don't grab it.
Yeah. Okay. One thing. I got it. I got it, honey. Thank you. He does the hard part. Oh my gosh. Presented to Colleen Mills, November 10th, 2020, in appreciation of her 18 years as president of the Citizens for Peace. Colleen's many years of exceptional leadership, hard work, and dedication to peace and nonviolence have made a difference and inspired us all. I will take a picture of this and put it on the website. That is so gorgeous. Thank you. Thank you so much. Wow. And now I'm going to read the bag that was dropped off on my porch right before the meeting. It says, "Let us put our minds together and see what life we can make for our children." Sitting Bull from Papa Lakota. Wow, what a gorgeous bag. Whoops. And how true. If we really paid attention to what we're doing, we would have a better world for the children. It would change the world. Oh my gosh, another surprise. I keep getting so many surprises, I can't believe it. Okay. Oh, wow. Oh my goodness. Peace can change the world. Oh, wow. Oh my goodness. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous scrapbook. And I see Caroline and, oh, wow.
Too many to count.
What?
There's too many to count.
I'm overwhelmed here, and I think this is going to take me hours to treasure every single page. Thank you so much. It's been my joy and pleasure, and it's been a learning experience and a love experience and a peace experience. Just meeting all of you. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You're just so wonderful. Thank you for these special gifts. I would do it all over again if I could. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love all of you, and you'll be hearing from me. I'll be sending out emails of these gorgeous treasures in this book. I'll share it with all of you. Thank you all so much.
That's how much we appreciate you.
Wow.
So is there anyone who has any kind of an announcement or anything they'd like to add to our business meeting? If you could call this a business meeting. Let's see, view, I can't see.
The only thing I want to say is thank you for all of the board members and for our other members that have stepped up this year, this very difficult year, to keep us going. You'll be hearing from us about membership soon. Linda wrote a beautiful letter. We'll be sending that out. And please, please watch the film that we're going to be showing. You can watch it 3 days in January. And then our next meeting, we'll be basically discussing that film and talking about fulfilling our mission, which is promoting the practices and principles of nonviolence. That's the only way we're going to get out of this craziness. And we've got a lineup coming up this year that is so phenomenal. You'll all want to come to the Zoom meetings and invite all of your friends, because we need to share this good news and this wonderful knowledge that we have about peace, starting with our hearts, with our families, and it just goes out like a light around the world. That's what we've been doing. So be sure to join us again. Thank you all again so much. I can't wait to read my book. I love you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I wanted to say one thing. One of the things that I recently did to share our meetings is I shared the link to the meeting on my Facebook page. So that's real easy to do, and that way more people will find out. Okay.
Okay.
Somebody else had something to say? I see a hand. Is okay. That's Jim.
It's Kaya.
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 So dark.
Don't share it on your Facebook page.
Oh, why?
You don't want anyone from outside the group to get into a meeting. This is how meetings get hacked. People get into meetings and start sharing their screen and showing pornography.
Oh, but the way it's set up now is nobody can come into the meeting without being admitted. So they still couldn't get in.
Right, but you don't want to put out a blanket invitation. You want to invite certain people.
Oh, so maybe we don't want this recurring meeting thing.
Well, the recurring meeting, I use a recurring meeting for my groups, but I only share it with people on my email list. I don't put it on Facebook.
Okay, well, maybe you can teach me, not right now, but would you be willing to teach me what went wrong? Because I didn't.
I don't know what went wrong.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what went wrong, but just don't share it on Facebook. Only share it with the people you want to share it with.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay.
Tata, it's Cheryl.
Hi, Cheryl. Yeah, I see you.
I'm pretty sure I know what went wrong. There were 2 different numbers floating out there. If you go to the Citizens for Peace website, the number that's on there for the meeting link is the incorrect one.
It is.
Yes.
Well, how did that happen, though? I don't.
Not sure. But yeah, the one that was sent earlier in December was the correct link. And then there was, I think the number may have been an older link. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
It didn't have to do with it being recurring, just somehow 2 of them.
It is the one currently on the website. If you pull up Citizens for Peace, is the incorrect link.
Mhm.
Wow.
Okay.
Thanks, Cheryl.
You.
Great meeting. And
Oh,
thank you
wasn't-
for all the inspirational stuff you've been sending out to the group, Colleen. This
My
has
joy.
been trying times for everyone. So it's great.
I love
Thank you.
sending out fun things too. The one about the mask, the one that forgot the mask and he saw all these other people that didn't have masks. One woman was putting her bra, it was a D cup, I'm not kidding, on her face. I laughed so hard at that. I sent it out to a few people, but I get a lot of fun things. Thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoy it. You gotta laugh. I'll tell you, you gotta laugh. Keeps you happy and content, and that's how I feel. Laugh every day. Well, okie dokie. It's great seeing all of you.
Let's see, and Colleen, what's our next meeting about? I forget.
It's the film, The Third Harmony,
Okay, yeah.
from the Meta Peace Center. It is fabulous. I love the guy. If you go to METTA Peace Center from California, Dr. Michael Nagler, he's been a peace advocate for years, and he put together this movie, and we bought it to show for 3 days. So I'm going to really try to promote that. Everyone needs to see that because it shifts your thinking.
And what were the dates that we?
It's the second, I sent it out. It's on the website. Go to our website.
Okay, yeah,
The 8th, 9th, and 10th.
okay.
January 8th, 9th, and 10th, that Friday through Sunday.
Yeah. We'll be sending that link out for you to watch it, and you won't want to miss it. And then we'll discuss it. And it's exciting. We got a great year coming up for you. We've got January, February, March, April, May, June is coming up. If you have any other ideas, we've got a lot of other ideas, but we'll listen to you. It's going to be a great year for peace. So.
Okay, everybody, I'm going to meeting, but I'm going to leave it on in case anyone wants to talk, but the meeting is officially over, and you can stay on to chat if you want to. Otherwise, thank you for being here.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, happy new year, healthy new year. It's going to be a great new year. Oh, there I go. Okay, I didn't want to be so big. And I've got Santa. I live with Santa, so I'm always happy, as you can see.
Great.
Oh my
I
God.
thought it was one of his elves. He was getting into a lot of mischief while all of the mayhem was going on at the beginning.
Oh my gosh. My brother retired, and he grew a big white beard like Santa. And he sent me the picture with his the Santa hat. And he never shaved the whole year. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. So keep laughing, keep smiling, keep being so generous and loving and peaceful to everyone. The hardest thing is sending love to people that you are really upset with. That's going to be a challenge for us. It's been quite a challenge this year, but I think it's going to get a little bit better. I'm hopeful. So thank you all. Peace. I'm going to go look at my wonderful book. Thank you again. Good seeing all of you. See you in January. Happy New Year.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for setting her up. Bye, Sabiha, Tata, Gloria, Carol. Good luck with everything. I'm glad you joined us, Sabiha. Wasn't that great? Wasn't it worth it? Oh, she's on mute. I'm glad to see you. And Dottie.
Yes.
January is going to be a special year when you got your granddaughter up right up above you. I'm so glad. Okay, Donna Jean, if you're on, I just looked at the last minute and saw you were waiting in the waiting room. Sorry about that. It's hard when so much is going on. So Margaret, glad you joined us from Indiana. And Dottie, I said goodbye to everybody. Okay, I'm going to leave. And if any of you want to keep talking, that's great, but have a wonderful holiday and we'll be seeing you soon. Bye. Okay.
Mm. Mm. Mhm. I- oh. Mm. Now it's oh, yeah. Oh. Mhm. Okay. Hi, this is Gloria. Yeah, who is this? Oh my God, the name, the number looks strange. Oh my God. Yeah, how are you doing? Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm doing fine. Yeah. So did you get a hold of him? Oh, good, good. Okay. I couldn't figure out who it was with that number. It was so different. Well, sorry, I didn't recognize you. Yeah. Well, I talked to your mom. I finally called her Sunday, maybe. I'm not even sure what day I talked to her. Yeah. Saturday or Sunday, I talked with her. She said it feels like she's in a prison. And I can imagine because they don't want them to leave their apartments. Yeah. They've had one for 14 days already. She didn't tell me that part. Oh, 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 okay. Okay. And well, because the governor just extended, I forgot to what day. I'll have to look at the note. I saw it on my, 12 days. And that's probably just the beginning, you know? Yeah. I mean, I stay home 90% of the time. I just go out to go shopping. I'm talking about food shopping. I don't even buy clothes, nothing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, really? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I carry that sanitizer with me in the car. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Oh, she's very sick, did you say? Oh, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I'm overweight, and that is it is a strike against you being overweight. But I also have, yeah, I have arthritis, kind of bad. I mean, to me, it's bad in my back and in my hip, and couple other things. See, when you get older, Sherry, more things go wrong. I mean, you try to be healthy, and my healthy friend, she got COVID, but she got a light case of it. All she had was the cough, um, and her taste still hasn't returned. When I talked to her Monday, still hasn't yesterday, still hasn't returned, and but she didn't have to go to the hospital. She's 85 years old, and she's so lucky. Yeah, her daughter and her both got the daughter and her got the COVID because the daughter's husband went into the real estate office and there had been 3 cases, 3 people that came down with COVID. So he caught something and he gave it to his wife, and in turn they gave it to Barb, my friend. Yeah, the mother-in-law. Yeah. So, but they're lucky. They're very lucky. Um, but wow. Yes. Now, is her mom overweight or thin? Okay, because this friend of mine that's 85, she's very, very slender, and she doesn't take that much medication. For being 85, she is pretty healthy. You know, she is pretty healthy, but she's got a couple things wrong. But it's just that it's just was a mild case. Yeah. So you got to be careful too. So it's more than just being overweight, it's they're having other things wrong with you. And that's why they want older people to be extra cautious, because older people do have a tendency to have some things wrong that the younger population does not. Yeah. 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 10 people, as careful as they are. Oh my, see, that's a problem. That's a problem. You know, I never met this woman, but she worked with my mother in Chicago years and years ago, because my mother has been gone since 90, since oh my God, 98, 98. Yeah. And so this young woman, she has 2 grown kids now. When my mother knew her, I don't know if she had kids. I don't even know if she had kids, probably not. Um, so she had sent a lovely card when my mother passed away. And so I kept contact with her. And what she likes to do is send messages, phone messages. And she just told me yesterday, she must be like, if she's 50, she's lucky because she's young. She's young. But she sent me a message that her mother, and I don't know what happened. I think her mother, I don't know what's wrong with her mother, but she's been in a nursing home for a little while and she has the COVID now. Something she was so worried about for this past year that her mother would get it, and she did get it. And she doesn't even get to see her. They don't even guess. go to see their parents. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know how they got the COVID, unless they got it from one of the workers, you know? Oh, she should be tested anyways, because if it's, oh, well, they should probably give a test. Yeah, but the people who, yeah, people who run it should be giving a test to everybody now that doesn't have it. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Something else for her to worry about. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, listen, I'm gonna let you go. So anyways, have a happy holiday. And yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'll be home. Yes, yes, we will. But anyway, say hi to all your two sisters for me. And yeah, and their husbands. Yeah. So take care and be safe, Sherry. Okay. Okay. You too. Bye now. Done further. Oh, ah, yeah. Hi, Linda. This is Gloria. And I want to apologize for you getting my information so late. I actually thought I had your name spelled right, and it went through, but it never did go through. I checked later, and I know sent it twice, and it never did go through. So, anyways, now I know how to spell your name. I'll never forget it, the last name. Yeah. So, anyways, it looked real pretty. The bag with the peace signs looked real pretty. And thank you for all your hard work. Bye now. Oh, It doesn't even work. Jeez. Yeah. Doesn't work. Just- Ah. Yeah. 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 Oh. Oh.